Hey everyone, welcome back to Six Wins. This is Chris, I'm Matt, and we are talking our best WWE superstar bracket today, and we're looking at two matchups. We're looking at the number 5, Randy Orton, the legend killer, that out of nowhere, there you go, versus number 12, Sexual Chocolate.
Oh, you didn't wear your salmon colored.
Mark Henry, I don't have my salmon colored fake retirement jacket. I'm not ready to introduce anyone into the Hall of Pain yet. But great heel run there.
So good.
And then, so yeah, Orton versus Mark Henry. And then the other matchup we're talking about, number 4, Seth Rollins. So I don't even know which nickname to give him. I was going to say the Architect, but he's moved on since then. A bunch of other, sort of gimmicks. The Visionary.
Yeah.
And things like that. I think that's his current, the Visionary.
Seth freaking Rollins.
Seth freaking Rollins. And our number 13, which might be a little low for some people, especially some of the slightly older generation, Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon.
There you go.
So these are some good matchups to talk about. Especially that Seth Rollins, Scott Hall one is pretty interesting to me. But I'm going to ask you a really stupid question.
Sweet.
For these 4. Should I call an audible? No. I'm going to ask you this one. How familiar are you with, Harry Potter?
I know the 3 main ones, and I know the jerk kid.
Yeah.
Blonde.
Do you know the houses of Harry Potter and what they represent?
I know Hogwarts is the good one.
That's the big school.
Oh, fuck.
I'm going to make you do it because this is going to be even funnier since you don't know.
Ravenclaw?
Yeah.
Is
all right.
the bad... No, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, close. This is going to be great because Chris doesn't know and everybody's going to be like, this idiot couldn't put him, that makes no sense. Yeah. All right. So we're going to play a little game. We're going to make Chris and I beat the Sorting Hat, which for anyone who's not familiar with Harry Potter is my favorite character in Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
But the Sorting Hat places students into one of the 4 schools. And the 4 are Gryffindor, which is what Harry Potter and the main characters are in, kind of known for being courageous and brave.
Okay.
It also places characters into Slytherin, which is the one with the snake, which is Draco Malfoy, and at least in the movies kind of has more of the sort of antagonistic characters. Yeah. But don't let that, it's opened up today. All 4 of these houses are legit choices for people.
Okay.
Then there's Ravenclaw, like you said. That's kind of more for maybe a little bit sort of that outside of the box thinkers, a lot of artistic people, and a little bit kind of out there. And eccentrics. And then Hufflepuff, which kind of originally was sort of the lame one. Okay. But I think has come up lately. It's kind of you're really loyal, you're pretty John Cena might be a Hufflepuff. Maybe.
Okay. Right.
So I want you to put Mark Henry, Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, and Scott Hall into these 4 houses. So Gryffindor, one more Gryffindor is represented by a griffin. Kind of a noble animal. Slytherin is a snake. That might help you.
Right.
Hufflepuff is a badger, I think.
Okay.
And Ravenclaw is a raven.
Okay. I'm going to go Hufflepuff Mark Henry.
Oh!
Just because, so here's my logic. Just Hufflepuff reminded me of Big Puffy. Yeah. So he was my big Puff Daddy. I think the hardest one is Gryffindor.
Yeah. You can put them, you don't have to put one in each.
Oh! Ooh, that helps things.
Yeah.
Then in that case... I'm gonna go Scott Hall and Randy Orton into Slytherin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Rollins could kind of go either way. Let's put Rollins in Ravenclaw.
Okay.
I don't think we have a super cut and dry Gryffindor.
No, we might not. Either.
No. So that would be mine. So we're doubling up in to
Slytherin
with so that's mine. What about yours?
Henry would stay in Hufflepuff for you?
Yeah, keep Henry in Hufflepuff.
Right on. All right, well, I'm going to do my little Sorting Hat magic here, but I'd probably have to agree on these. And I'd go, Seth Rollins. Ooh, where did this guy go? Slytherin for Seth Rollins. For Randy Orton, I forgot who I was talking about. Randy Orton, obviously. He's the Viper. He's got to go Slytherin. I would also agree Scott Hall would probably go Slytherin, but to try and make sure we do get one in Gryffindor. I'm not gonna put Scott Hall in Gryffindor.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put him in Hufflepuff for loyalty to Nash and the NWO and the Clique stuff. And although he's the bad guy, he's a loyal guy and very committed to people. I'm gonna put Seth Rollins. I'd agree, Seth Rollins in Ravenclaw, and I'll put Mark Henry in Gryffindor.
Okay.
Because I think Mark Henry, world's strongest man. He stand up to anybody, brave dude, not afraid to back down from anyone. Give Mark Henry Gryffindor. All right, well that was the nerd. Like, if you think doing wrestling videos is nerdy, try doing a wrestling video and then talking about wrestlers into Hogwarts houses. That's Inception levels of like nerdy dorkiness.
Right. I will say, my wife is the biggest Harry Potter fan that I've ever met. Emily, she's there somewhere.
Oh, she's there somewhere.
Yeah.
Not a paid actor. It's not Stevis.
No. Who is that guy?
Hey everybody, it's Stevis from 6 Wins, back with another episode of Two Truths and a Lie, Tom Hanks edition. What I'm going to do is give you 3 Tom Hanks facts, and you tell me which one is a lie. See how well you know this guy.
I thought he was related to you. He's on your side of the family, right?
Oh, I don't know him. Did you give him I thought you gave him the login information to our 6 Wins. How does he get his videos up there? Anywho.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
It's concerning.
That's a little weird. Yeah, hopefully they don't get hacked by Stevis.
Yeah, but what's not concerning is the winners of these matchups, because they were deserved. But the first one we can talk about is Randy Orton versus Mark Henry. We talked about Mark Henry having some really good sort of like short feuds or short runs, and he was a guy who wrestled for a long time. He might have even wrestled before Nation of Domination for a bit. I'm sure he did. But I think his first notable kind of like recognizability was with the Nation. He continued on after that. He was World's Strongest Man. He was always kind of one of those guys that could be like a good, if you had a new champion and you wanted them to like win a feud before like the guy they'd probably drop it to, he was a good like transition feud for champions. Guy that can play a good heel that you're worried is gonna win, but doesn't take, the face is gonna beat him. I think the one miss in his career was his Hall of Pain run, we said, and when he probably should have won the title from Cena.
Yeah.
Because that was just so good and was one of the truly shocking moments that like people didn't see coming when he pretended to retire.
Right.
But for my money, I'm going Randy Orton. I mean, the guy is the son of another WWF superstar, former superstar. And I mean, he's kind of the full package for a wrestler. Like, great height, great physique, great in-ring work, pretty good on the mic with given the right material. Sometimes can be stiff if he's not on the right thing, but Randy Orton's I would pick Randy Orton. And I predicted he would win here. Any thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I was looking at the rankings, and in my head I thought Orton was the 4, Rollins was the 5. I found that interesting that I think I picked Rollins. I'm a huge mark for Rollins. But yeah, I love the Hall of Pain run. Can't say it better that Mark Henry was always the guy that was like, he would come out and the announcer would be like, "Oh my God, it's Mark Henry!" Oh, Sheamus kicked him in the face. Bro kick, he's down. So I'm going Orton all the way. And when the voting came out, who's taking it into the second round?
Did you think this one would? How do you think this one would play out? Though, what was your prediction?
I thought it would be landslide Orton.
You did think it was landslide Orton? And it ended up landslide Orton. I think you called this one. We had a tap out and we ended it early.
Yeah, we had to have Sexual Chocolate, Ms. Ark Henry tap out, and we ran a second matchup. But he's still a legend. Is he in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think he is.
He will be soon because he's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Randy Orton, I think, definitely deserved to win that and is probably the objectively better choice. But I was disappointed to see that Mark Henry really didn't get any love in that poll. Maybe just a rough matchup, but yeah. All right, so we'll move on. This one, I think maybe, especially after we went to SmackDown maybe like a month or so ago, we talked to some people there, like you said. We interviewed some people and kind of asked them about some matchups or asked them their favorite wrestler. We ran into a group of like 4 or 5 people that were an amazing group.
Yeah.
And we asked them about this matchup, and they all picked Scott Hall. And so I started thinking, well, this one could be really close. Because you said you're a big Seth Rollins fan. I'm also a big Seth Rollins fan. Love the guy. He's my current favorite wrestler, and will probably end up in like be in my top 5. When things are said and done. So I would so I would go Seth Rollins. I was a big Scott Hall fan in WCW, but I didn't again, the Diesel Razor Ramon was when we were a little bit young. I wasn't watching wrestling consistently at that point. So I didn't see Razor Ramon runs or feuds. I just knew about him as a wrestler. When he came in, I saw a lot of Scott Hall in WCW, and he did come to WWF for a while, WWE after WCW ended. But I would still go Seth Rollins despite all of the stuff that I saw from Scott Hall that I really liked. He was a guy I really enjoyed in WCW. One of my more favorite wrestlers. Maybe close to top 10 at that time, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. Quick thing on the last matchup. I was just sitting here and I have a theory of why Orton just took out Mark Henry in a landslide. Because Orton has gone through some kind of highs and lows where he's been just people be like, oh God, Orton Cena again. People got a little bored of Orton for a while.
Yeah.
They got Randy Orton. And I think right now he's out with an injury. And I think he went out when him and RK Bro was white hot.
Yeah.
They were the best thing for a while. So I think he just happens, and people want him back really, really bad. And it's a question mark. Is he coming back? Is he not? So I think just timing too for Mark Henry. If Orton was maybe on a more of a downswing of his career, then maybe it would have been closer.
Yeah.
But just a quick thought. This one, Seth Rollins versus Scott Hall. We did interview that group of people, and they all said Scott Hall.
Yeah.
But I'm going Rollins all day. I think top 5 when it's all said and done. I've posted, I've just chatted with some wrestling fans, and I know it's a little controversial, but I'm I think Rollins is at that Shawn Michaels, Daniel Bryan level of awesome with just in-ring work. Can you make the argument that HBK and Daniel Bryan are better in-ring than Rollins? Maybe, but let's look at their catalog. Rollins has a ton of WrestleMania matches and just too many matches to count, including the one with Lesnar and Cena at Royal Rumble. I love that match. Scott Hall was good. I think my memory of Scott Hall is a little tainted because I loved when they brought NWO back in the WWF. Yeah. I'm gonna inject the poison. I love that. But I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but he didn't. Something was missing. When he had that WrestleMania match with Austin, it just seemed I hate to say it, maybe he was boozing a little hard before the match, but his just it's just all the great memories started to get erased a little bit when he was kind of fumbling around the ring, and so. But I will always remember his match at WrestleMania 10 with Shawn Michaels in that classic ladder match. He was awesome. But I'm going Seth Rollins all day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, well, Chris and I were going Seth Rollins, and some people we talked to made us think this would be close. So we had it up on all of our socials. We had you guys vote on it. And the winner between Seth freaking Rollins and Scott Hall, moving on, it's going to be Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins did win. What were kind of the final numbers? This was relatively close.
It's fairly close. We're getting a ton of traffic on Instagram. I love the traffic on Instagram, voting in the story. A lot of hardcore wrestling fans trying to connect with as many as possible. It was a little more lopsided on Instagram. Twitter was pretty close, but I think Instagram is where we're getting the most votes right now.
Yeah.
And that will always kind of tip the scales. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. Yeah, now we can see if we got the seating wrong, and maybe Orton should have been seated better. Now we can prove it in the next matchup.